Most people want to have high quality restorative sleep every single night that actually makes them feel recovered the day after. But no one understands how when you start a business, your sleep gets a lot worse. And that's what gets a lot of entrepreneurs stuck feeling wired and tired every single night. And they don't know why, despite trying all these random sleep tips they've heard online. Most entrepreneurs feel like their sleep issues coming from routine, discipline, or just not trying hard enough. So they chase all these random gadgets or supplements or random routines they've heard online. So they wonder why they still feel wired but tired. They feel like they've tried every single thing and it's just not working. And this is one non-negotiable rule. Your stress load has to be managed properly because your sleep itself will not have you rested and recovered. Especially once business enters the picture, everything changes. It's completely different optimizing yourself. If you're just a normal 9 to 5 worker, you live an average, pretty chill life, maybe you play a bit of sports, whatever, compared to an entrepreneur really building a business. When you start a business, there's a few things that change. Number one, your nervous system is always on. Number two, your stress has a hard time turning off, and your body doesn't actually turn into real recovery when it's time to sleep. And that's why you sleep 6 to 8 hours per night and don't wake up feeling that fresh, right? Because your body is resting, but you're not actually recovering. And this has nothing to do with your mindset, your motivation, your willpower. It's just a system problem with your health. And guys, this took me so fucking long to figure out, right? I was such a nerd with health and biohacking. If you don't know my story, I was depressed, I had poor health issues, whatever, and I turned into a bit of a biohacking, passion. Then when I started my business, I was facing all these issues, right? Because as I said before, health, optimizing your health when you're just a normal dude, maybe working a 9 to 5 job, training some, doing some sports, going to the gym. The health protocols that you follow at that time don't exactly apply when you have a business. You have to do things very differently. You have to look at it a different way. You have to actually have systems, right? And I kept burning myself out so many times. I kept waking up, I would never get morning wood. I would go to sleep wired. I would always be stressed. My nervous system would fry itself. I felt like I didn't even understand at the time what adrenal fatigue was, but I felt like I had adrenal fatigue. I was always burning it. Despite how disciplined, how ambitious, how hardworking I was, and how motivated I was still getting work done, but not nearly to the amount that I could or that I do now, right? Because I just had a terrible system with my health. I didn't know the things I was doing wrong. I didn't have a system in place that helped me recover from my stress and helped me actually get good quality sleep so I could recover from my stress and actually perform day in and day out, right? Out of all the issues I was facing, I had gut health issues, I have ADHD, all these things were affecting my performance, right? But the biggest one that I hated, that I really wanted to get under control, was just waking up recovered, getting the best quality sleep I could, right? And I kept thinking that I needed to change my routine, try some new supplements, or I just needed to push through, that this is just a part of life, and ambition sucks, and it's a price that you need to pay for success, right? And eventually, after years and years of trial and error, and finally learning about the key things I needed to learn about to actually prevent this and actually truly optimize my health and figure out a system, that's when everything changed, because I realized that you need real systems, you need real data to actually restore and optimize your health. And actually, obviously for this video, optimize your sleep so you can wake up feeling recovered, actually waking up with energy, with some morning wood, with some drive and power, not waking up depressed, tired, anxious, unmotivated, and just pushing through on caffeine and nicotine and all this other stuff, right? And once you do this, you become someone who just expects good quality sleep. You expect to wake up feeling good. You expect to go to bed and fall asleep very quickly. Your energy is more stable and it just becomes a part of who you are. And this is when your body actually supports your ambition rather than your ambition being way too big for your biology, for your nervous system especially, right? And you're actually able to recover and perform consistently. And guys, to save you years of error and pain and stress, don't adopt this dangerous mindset of just thinking it's part of the grind, this is how it is, I just need to push through, David Goggins, Jocko Willink, all these people who preach about discipline and willpower, which half of it is just fucking bullshit. Like, you should be optimized with your health and work hard. When you combine the two, you're going to perform so much better. This is a few tips that will help you actually down-regulate your nervous system and actually sleep properly, right? The first one is you need to stop eating your food 3 hours before bedtime. This is so your body is able to actually digest your food, because you only have so much energy. Your body can only focus on so many things at once. Hence why when you have a big meal, it's very hard to focus, right? All the blood is going down to your digestive tract, right? So you don't want that process happening near your bedtime. So let's say you want to fall asleep by 12 o'clock. By 9 p.m., you want to finish your last proper meal. Now, this doesn't mean you can't have any snacks. Actually, some foods that will support sleep, like cherries, like pistachios, like kiwis, right? These things actually support your sleep. You could still have them, an hour, 2 hours before your bedtime, right? But you don't want to have any big meals 3 hours before bed. That is the biggest rule. Now, the second tip is to start avoiding blue light 2 hours before bed. So let's use the same example. Midnight is your fall asleep time, which, side note, you should be in bed by 11:30 p.m. because it takes on average 15 to 30 minutes to actually fall asleep. For some people, it's like an hour. you also lose like 30 minutes inside your sleep. So you end up sleeping a lot less. But anyway, 2 hours before bed, you want to start avoiding blue light. What does that mean? It means avoiding blue light. It doesn't mean putting on blue light blockers. It means dimming all the lights using softwares on your computer called F.LUX, where it actually dims your computer. It cuts out all the blue light. You light up some candles. You put on your blue light blockers. You turn off the lights, right? You could still see. You could still work. You could still do all the things you want to do, right? If you want to work, hang out with your friends, play video games, whatever. But you just need to be avoiding blue light from 2 hours before bed all the way up until bedtime, right? Even when I brush my teeth, I use a torch, I use a candle. It seems a bit crazy, but it's just something you kind of need to figure out. You can still use lamps, like red lava lamps. You can use torches, you can use candles to see, because that's why we have light to see. You can still see, you just need to avoid blue light. Now, the third tip is avoiding stress 1 hour before bed, right? So as I said, you finish your meal and then, an hour goes by and then you start avoiding blue light. Maybe you're still working up until bedtime. Let's say it's an hour before bedtime. What you want to do is stop or unwind from your work. Finish up your tasks. By now, you should have finished up your stressful tasks. Don't engage in anything stressful, like stressful conversations, checking certain, KPI metrics, anything relating to your business anything that's gonna spike cortisol. When you spike cortisol and your stress hormones, it takes a while for it to go down, right? So if you're working on something super intense and difficult, that's, raising your cortisol and makes you quite stressed, and you're breathing, you're doing some shallow breathing, that's going to affect your sleep massively. So 1 hour before your bedtime, so let's say 11 p.m., by now you should have finished your task, you've planned the next day, you've kind of, you're doing a bit of admin, that kind of thing. Now you can actually at least enjoy the rest of your night, maybe drink a tea that's not going to affect your sleep, like chamomile tea, dandelion tea, that kind of thing. And just chill out. Watch, like for me, I'll watch YouTube, I'll watch whatever I want, right? Or I'll just go hang out with my family, call someone. You just don't want anything to spike your stress hormones. Essentially, you want to unwind and lower your cortisol, because when your cortisol is high at night, that fucks your sleep. And you want basically your mornings to have high cortisol and a quick drop, and you want your evenings to have a big drop, a big spike in melatonin. So they need to be opposite. At nighttime, your cortisol needs to be very low and your melatonin needs to be high. In the morning, your melatonin needs to be low and your cortisol needs to be high. The reason you wake up and you feel brain foggy, you're not recovered, a part of that is because of that. It's aligning your circadian rhythm. So there's 3 tips to optimize your sleep. Take that with you, implement it today, just so you have some, things to take away from this video and implement straight away so you can start feeling better. But remember what I spoke about. When you start a business, you need to manage your stress better. It's different to, people who work a 9-to-5 job, less stressful lifestyle, that kind of thing. That's pretty much it, boys. I hope you found it useful. Leave a like, sub, and comment. If you want my one-to-one help in diagnosing, creating the system, and holding you accountable to the plan in restoring and optimizing your health, you can click the link in the description. But besides that, hope you have a good one and take care. Ciao.